Today I want to talk about Condition Critical, the follow-up to the highly successful Mental Health by Quiet Riot. But I want to pose the question, why didn't Condition Critical live up to the success of Mental Health? In today's video, I want to talk about multiple factors that led to this album not performing as well as its predecessor. So let me get into it. Let me start with the album Mental Health. I did a video on that. I will link it to the end screen. But first, I'll give you a quick recap of that. Mental Health was released in March of 1983. It wasn't an overnight success. This was actually the band's third album. They had been playing the club scene for a long time before anyone knew who they were. But the album eventually took off. That was very impressive for a heavy metal album in 1983. But this one was different. It was very accessible. There was something about it that resonated with the mainstream audience. They had catchy songs and a charismatic image, and that was what seemed to have worked at the time. That album also had a few strong singles. One of them was Come On Feel the Noise. That was a Slade cover. What's interesting is that the band was reluctant to cover it at first, but they were glad they did, as it had a lot of energy, it had a catchy chorus, and it was loved by many people hearing it on the radio for the first time. It also came out in the golden age of MTV, a channel that can make or break bands, and the constant rotation of the song gave the band the exposure that they needed. The single for Come On Feel the Noise eventually broke the top 5 on the Billboard Hot 100. They also had another single that did very well. It was the title track, Mental Health. It was another song that they played often, as it was a very rebellious type of song with another catchy chorus. Eventually the album climbed the charts and reached number 1 on the Billboard 200 in November 1983, making them the first heavy metal band to have a number 1 album. This opened the floodgates for more metal bands and helped make the metal scene in the 80s become more mainstream. Given the success of Mental Health, the band wanted to ride that wave, so they put out another album just a year later. It was Condition Critical, which is the subject matter of today's video. The album was released in July 1984, and this was because the label CBS Pasha wanted to capitalize on the band's momentum and strike while the iron was hot. Was the band even ready for another album, or were they just pushed by the label?
Now, so come on, let's rock it now, come on.
Before we get into that, let's take a look at my vinyl record. The album cover for Condition Critical had many similar visual themes used by its predecessor, Mental Health. One thing that you'll notice is that this album also has the Mental Health mascot with the skull mask. On the Mental Health album cover, the mask was worn by illustrator Stan Watts, who designed and hammered out the aluminum mask. It was meant to symbolize a fan who had gone insane from Mental Health. For Condition Critical, frontman Kevin DuBrow reportedly insisted on bringing the mask back, as he wanted it to be the band's visual identity. While Mental Health hinted at mental instability, Condition Critical leans into a more direct, almost clinical interpretation of its title. The cover features the masked figure that appears to be in this chaotic or medical hospital or setting or something like that. The artwork and the illustration were also done by Stan Watts. His style created the dramatic, high-contrast look that defined both covers, and Aaron Rappaport handled the photography. I bought my vinyl copy in Mexico, so you might see some different things on the album cover. For example, this little sticker on the bottom right-hand corner says Hecho en Mexico. Then on the flip side, you see the songs in English, and on the back cover, you see a photo of the band, and on the bottom, you look closely, you can see they have the album songs in Spanish. I don't know if they're supposed to be any inserts. My album doesn't have any. I bought it used, but the sticker on the back vinyl is from the Epic label, and a lot of the text is in Spanish, and the songs are in both English and Spanish. Many people criticize some of the songs, saying that they sounded the same or were not as strong as the songs on previous albums, so let's discuss this further. Condition Critical opens with the track Sign of the Times. This one had that typical Quiet Riot sound. I think the band was trying to recapture that same energy of the title track for Mental Health, but this one did not hit as hard. Some people even say it sounded too similar to Mental Health. It had a similar structure, tempo, and vocal delivery, so you could even say they were plagiarizing themselves. A lot of people also criticized the na 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 outro of the song. Then there was the other Slade cover, Mama, We're All Crazy Now, and it's a fun song, but to tell the truth, it's very similar to the previous Come On Feel the Noise. That was another Slade cover. It was popular on MTV. They played it often, got a lot of rotation, but many people saw it as a way to milk the success of the previous single. It was placed as track number 2, just like Come On Feel the Noise was on Mental Health. The single didn't do as well. It only reached number 51 on the charts, while Come On Feel the Noise hit number 5. There was another song called Party All Night, which is one of the most 80s sounding songs that falls under the hard rock or metal umbrella. It was a fun track, but it's also very generic. There were so many songs about partying hard at that time. There's another song called Stomp Your Hands and Clap Your Feet, and this song suffers from having the worst song title of all time. But with that being said, there are some positive aspects of the song, like the driving double bass drumming, but in general, it was one of the weaker songs. This all comes from the fact that the chorus didn't make any sense. So it's one of the songs that was probably rushed to be completed. Then there was the track Winners Take All, and I kind of like this one. It's a mid-tempo melodic hard rocker. One might even call it a power ballad. Probably one of those songs that didn't get a lot of attention. Here's some interesting trivia. Former bassist Rudy Sarzo said that there was an early version of the song called Teenage Anthem that was co-written by Randy Rhoads, although Randy wasn't given credit for this song. I have a quote from Rudy Sarzo. He said that it's not that I would consider them rejects from Mental Health. They were songs that were around during Mental Health, but they weren't picked for the album. Also, there's a song called Winners Take All. For some business reason beyond my control, Randy Rhoads wasn't allowed to be credited on the album as the co-writer of the song. It was originally called Teenage Anthem, and Kevin rewrote and updated it so it could be on Condition Critical. Finally, there was the title track. The song was not too bad. It was one of the heavier tracks. It showed that the band could write some heavier and darker songs. Kevin DuBrow gives a very good vocal performance. A lot of people call this one one of the best tracks on the album. But let's talk about something completely different, because there was another problem that was going on, so let's discuss it. Around the time of Condition Critical, Kevin DuBrow's behavior was becoming problematic. This eventually led to the band's decline. One of his worst behaviors was the fact that he was always bad-mouthing other bands. This caused him to alienate many fans. For example, he allegedly called Hit Parader magazine toilet paper. That led to negative reviews for Condition Critical and for that magazine. He also insulted Ozzy Osbourne, saying that he sang like a frog. This made things very awkward for bassist Rudy Sarzo, as he had played with Ozzy. Kevin also had a big ego. He said that he was solely responsible for the success of metal going mainstream, despite the fact that there were so many other bands that were out there that helped make it popular, like Van Halen, Def Leppard, Motley Crue. He also had substance abuse problems, particularly cocaine, and that was another reason for his behavior. He was also a dick when it came to his opening acts. For example, Poison's drummer Ricky Rocket said that Kevin and Quiet Riot's tour manager, quote, were not the easiest people to work with and treated Poison poorly on tours. I have another quote from Poison drummer Ricky Rocket, and he revealed it in the book Nothing But a Good Time. Some of those early tours in the Winnebago were tough. We opened for Quiet Riot in clubs, and at the time, Kevin DuBrow and their tour manager were not the easiest people to work with. We had too many restrictions on us. A lot of the audience were there to see Quiet Riot. They didn't give a damn who the opening act was. We started to embrace that competitiveness. While Condition Critical was a significant step down from the success of Mental Health, it still performed respectively, especially considering the immense pressure it was under and the critical reception. The album was certified platinum in the United States, selling 1 million copies. It also achieved platinum status in Canada, selling 100,000 copies. Despite achieving platinum, this was a big contrast to Mental Health, which sold over 6 million copies in the US alone. This significant drop in sales, about 1/6 of its predecessor, showed that the band couldn't keep up with the momentum of their hit album. As for chart performance, Condition Critical peaked at number 15 on the US Billboard 200 album chart. While it's respectable for this album, it's important to remember that Metal Health reached number 1. Therefore, Condition Critical was not a commercial flop by any means. However, coming directly after the multi-platinum genre-defying Metal Health, its performance felt like a significant decline. They could not duplicate the success of its predecessor. The main factor was a lack of chart-topping singles, which led the album to be perceived as a disappointment despite its still impressive sales figures for the time. So while Condition Critical may not have reached the heights of Metal Health, it still stands as an important chapter in Quiet Riot's story, an album caught between massive expectations and the harsh realities of the spotlight. Check out this video I did on Metal Health if you want more of the story. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe for more rock and metal deep dives, hit the bell so you never miss a new upload. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next one.